Hi guys, how you doing? I'm here with Luxia. He just won his first match of Ascension. Congratulations, parabéns. And the first question that I want to ask him is the first match that they can win here in Ascension. What was missing from them as a team to just close the first map? O que estava faltando para vocês conseguir fechar um jogo?
A gente tava muito nervoso, tipo, tava faltando mais calma, eu acho, tipo, não só na mira, assim, nas decisões e tudo mais, assim.
We were really nervous and we had to keep calm in our decisions too, and yeah, that was costing us the game. The second question that I want to ask him is that they need to win against Reta and like to have chances of playoffs. And what is their opinion about this team and how are they preparing for this team? Então, vocês precisam ganhar da Reta para conseguir ter uma chance para entrar nos playoffs. O que vocês acham deles como time e como vocês estão se preparando?
Eles são um time muito forte, a gente vem se preparando normalmente, igual como todos os times, porém a gente tem que ter uma cautela a mais por causa da Alp e do Snow.
So, they're really good. We're just going to prepare the same, but we need to be precautious with Snowsing and his operator. The last question that I want to ask him is, what could we expect from Galores if they get into playoffs? Então, o que a gente poderia esperar de vocês como time se vocês conseguem entrar nos playoffs?
Um time mais resiliente e mais calmo nas horas de fechar o mapa, principalmente. Um time com muita garra, né, que tá vindo de baixo.
Yeah, really calm team and also with a lot of claws, you know, that it's coming from below. And yeah, they just want to win. Muito obrigada. Thank you. You can stay here because we have our next match, TSM against M80. Thank you, guys.
They say in life, there are no guarantees. They say a lot of stuff like that. Slow it down. Play it safe. Hedge your bets. So what? You gonna listen to that? You gonna stop because they can't guarantee you'll pull this off? No guarantee you'll win? No guarantee everything's gonna be fine? In life, you make your own guarantees. Nobody else will light your way. Start your own fire and keep it burning. And we guarantee you'll have one hell of a lifetime.
I'm dinner with Elon Musk.
Probably, I would say my grandparents.
Can be dead or just people alive. I think Michael Jordan, because I saw one document, The Last Dance. I learned a lot of that.
It's a domestic rematch for M80 and TSM, and it might just be their most important matchup ever. M80, sitting at 3-0 in the group stage thus far, have a chance to lock themselves in for playoffs with the win in this matchup. While they have had extremely close contests thus far, they are the only remaining team without a loss in the group stage. They have another chance to prove themselves as NA Challengers best and solidify their spot at the top of the totem pole here at Ascension. For TSM, the situation is quite dire, as they sit at 1-2, and a loss here could mean that they miss out on the playoffs. It's already a tough spot to be in, made worse by the fact that M80 is a historically difficult opponent for TSM. In the team's 4 domestic matchups this season, TSM went 0-4 against M80 and only managed a single map win. Although some maps were very close, it's going to take a lot for TSM to overcome a team that has seemingly always had their number.
I think we're pretty disappointed with the veto and 2G loss so far. There's not like other ways to say it. We're disappointed, and we would have loved to play these games again and win it. Then we do very like the most of the mistakes we make are fundamentals and like very small mistakes that we've been working on throughout the year. But when the pressure is high, it seems like those issues come back. So, I mean, we know how good they are. They know how good we are. It's gonna be a battle, obviously, and they know that. And we just need to fix the little mistakes that we keep making, the fundamentals, and just play with more confidence and not let the pressure get to us.
Obviously, we've been working hard the whole year. So basically, again, it's just been working out the whole year. We know what to expect in this tournament. We've been here last year. So again, it's pretty much just preparation the whole year, preparing for this moment, and we just have to execute it. There's a lot of room for improvement. I think right now we're playing a 5 out of 10, and when we're going to be playing a 10 out of 10, even an 8 out of 10, I don't think anyone's going to stand a chance. So I have no message for them. They basically know what we're capable of. We've played these guys in the last 2 years. They haven't beat us. We know what it takes to beat them. And again, it's going to be a good matchup. This is for NA, so looking forward to playing them online finally. I think experience is something I have over him. I think generally he did improve a lot compared to last season, and I'll give it to him. But I think experience is the number one thing. I have a lot of experience playing with flash initiators, and I think he's new on the role, so I would say experience.
It is time for our last regional matchup of the day and the last regional matchup of this group stage. Welcome back, everybody, to VCT Ascension Americas. It's time for M80 to take down TSM, and we got to hear a little bit on the teaser, but it's an M80 that has always had domination going against TSM. Only in this year, it's been 4 times that M80 have played TSM, and every single time they've won against them, but overall, it's even 6 times since 2023 that they played against each other, and Roy, M80, like we said before, they have their number.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the stats show it. All the trends show it. M80 has defeated TSM every single time, and this might be the worst time for this. But I mean, the fact that the number 1 seeds have been winning every single match, I have a feeling the trend might continue here.
That's a fair guess, just with the way that M80 has been performing, even looking at the history, looking at the grand finals, and looking at their shape right now. Emily, it's just a team that is so strong, and yes, they're not perfect. It's not like those maps they're always dominating, but what really lets them go across the line is that they know how to close them out. They know how to solve those tricky and difficult situations.
Yes, sometimes it's kind of an advantage in a way, in a silly way, to not be performing your absolute best early on, because you have to make mistakes and lose certain rounds in order to perfect it and make it even better. If they were constantly dominating all of their matches, they would have nothing to work on. So True. In a way, if we look at it that way, it could work in M80's favor to get even stronger throughout the tournament. And looking at their group matches that they've had so far, a lot of the matches were super close, but they're still 3-0. So to me, I feel like we're going to see a much looser gameplay for them, because they really can play loose and just give an opportunity to test things and do trial and error today.
They haven't been losing these matches, but they have been losing a couple of the maps here and there. And like you said, that losing those maps has been, it seems like, great experience for them to learn how to deal with it. And one of the things that we saw, it was a little bit of social media talking here between Xander and Koala, Roy.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been some tweets from the players, specifically the one we're about to show right here. This one obviously it doesn't really say much, but it does speak on the fact that M80 has won all their matches, but their individual form hasn't really been to expectation. Like, they haven't been playing to the same level. I mean, even Nismo said it in the video, and I agree with him. Individually, on a pure individual level, they have not been their best. Yes, they are looking great strategically. They're looking great as a team, and you can tell that the strategic depth is just a little bit better than TSM's. But on the other hand, TSM has been playing well on an individual level. And I think if TSM really want a shot here between these two matches, I think that TSM is going to have to step up massively individually, including 7, and then they're going to have to outbrawl M80, because I don't think they can match them on a strategic level.
How scary is it that even M80 and even the M80 players are talking about not playing their best, not playing to their 100%, and yet they're still winning these matches. They're still the one and only undefeated team. They are the favorites to win Ascension for a reason, Emily. But let's talk about the other side, because TSM, they've had some great fights. They've had some great moments, and it will be the first time that they play against M80 on LAN, so that could also play a part into how this match is going to play out.
Oh yeah, LAN environment is always 10 times better. It's more of an equal playing field. Everybody's playing on the same equipment and the same ping. And also a bonus of you can get even more into your opponent's head at LAN. TSM has a little bit more pressure today, in my opinion, because they have to get more wins on their record for the groups to kind of secure their chance in the playoffs. But also because this is a revenge match. They want to finally get that win versus M80. And as we're seeing all of these amazing highlights, TSM has been playing pretty well so far, in my opinion, throughout the groups. And I think they continue to get better because the chemistry on LAN is just so much better to build and play off of and just improve as a team. And we've been seeing a lot of people shine, particularly like a Proto, getting these really nice clutches, even on Killjoy and Deadlock. And even Sim is a player who we're going to have to look out for today because he's been pretty consistent as well.
The players individually have always been there and have been able to show up, especially because we got this to see throughout the whole year how this TSM team was improving and getting better and now being at this instant. But it seems like they're also missing a little bit of what M80 we're talking about, Roy, where all the pieces are finally working together, synergized, coordinated, and being able to win these maps that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we're talking about TSM, I mean, look at their match performances. They won their opening game versus Galoris, and then they kind of had a really rough match against Retta. In my opinion, that match was a little bit scary, and then they tried to bounce back versus 2G, and they did end up getting losing in a really tight knit game. But yeah, to go back on the point, I definitely think that, again, strategically, M80 is just the clear dominant team for that in that regard. Like their strategy, their map pool, their flexibility is just unmatched in my opinion, and they're really just winning off of that. So again, to me, my whole point being is that I kind of agree with Em when she was talking about individual form and these players popping off, because on on a very fundamental level, on a very micro level, TSM has been playing kind of well. They know how to team fight. They know how to set up sim. They're not really missing that part of their gameplay. And that's the part that they need to double down on. They need to disrupt M80. Don't let them run the retakes. Don't let them run their execs. Dismantle their defaults. Like don't allow them room to just like make calculated game plans, because you won't be able to match them on that level. I really don't believe.
And M80, although they're undefeated, they've played a lot of rounds so far in this tournament. So that's something that TSM has had the opportunity to study and see how they can take an advantage. And this is something that we talked about as well. Only on this year, they face each other 4 times, and every single time is gone the way of M80. And in the overall history between the two, it's been 6 times that they played each other. And M80 has also won those last 2 from 2023. So I don't even know how to describe it. It just control, domination, reads. It's pretty much to perfection what M80 has been able to do against TSM, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know how much more we can continue talking about this point. M80 is a good team. Woo! TSM is also a really good team. This is their chance to kind of prove that. I think that, this is one thing that we haven't really touched on is kind of the mental, but I do also want to start moving the conversation towards what we're going to be expecting from this matchup, and that is going to be the duelist differential between Kawala and Sim.
And they play very different. I mean, we've seen Koala Noob on so many different agents. Since Challengers, he was doing this, not only on the duelist role, but when he has to flex and play something else, he's more than comfortable to do so and bring these different playstyles. While Emily, on the Sim side, you have that Sim that is pretty much the duelist always, every single time going in and being the difference maker for TSM.
This is a duelist match that I'm really looking forward to watching. I think this is a head-to-head battle that we can all look forward to seeing. Both Sim and Koala Noob have been consistently at the top for their team, and also, as we can see with the stats, Sim has been going in a little bit more than Koala Noob in terms of trying to get the first bloods. I think that's why the percentage is higher for Sim, but Koala Noob on the other side has a higher KDA with 1.7. So both of these players going head to head, I think it's pretty even in terms of that. Koala Noob has been playing a really fun agent, Yoru, which I hope we get to see today as well, because that's not an easy agent to play at all. You really have to preemptively think what you're going to do. But Sim is also just really good of wanting to get that ground or that first opener, and is very successful on doing that.
Yeah, and then that final point on the duelist head-to-head as well is like, yeah, Koala might have he's not winning as many first kills, but he's also, his first death percentages are also lower than Sim. So Sim might be taking more for first fights, but Koala is likely to survive them. So, I mean, there's that aspect of it. But I do also want to touch on the fact that M80 has been the sort of kind of team that likes to hide their map pool, right? So they are going to be coming out into this matchup with virtually no secrets. The map pool is essentially shown.
And let's talk about, I mean, we already talked about the duelists. Now let's talk about the other side. Let's talk about the IGLs here. And let's talk about Xander and GMD specifically. Xander has been popping off, and we mention it every single time because every single map he's doing these things where he's clutching rounds, he's closing rounds, he's having such a read on the enemy team, and that's not easy to do in this tournament. You're going against all these different regions, all these different playstyles, Roy, and it's something that is great to see for both of the teams, but honestly, especially Xander.
Yeah, especially Xander. I mean, the statistics, they're not that significantly different between these two, but Xander is taken on in a completely different weight. But GMD does mid-round, for the TSM side, so he does have some responsibility and some agency in terms of how TSM plays out their mid-rounds. But the main point being is that they have really strong duelists, and again, they have very strong closers, people that can step up. 40% clutch rate for a controller IGL is unheard of. That is unheard of. Those are insane stats.
It's just unreal what these players have been able to do. But this is the Zippo agent select that we're looking at right now, Emily. And we have the first two maps are going to be Sunset, Icebox, and to close it out is going to be Haven. What do you make of this?
Okay, Sunset was a match that they actually played in the grand finals for North America, where M80 won 13-8. So this is a good pick for them because a lot of the rounds went down to individuality and mid-round decisions, so that's an easy fix for TSM. Also, one thing to note is TSM had a really bad attacking side on Sunset, so the fact that they're going to be starting on attack again, it's going to be a good opportunity for a revenge versus that last match.
Very interested on this map of Sunset, and to figure out what we're gonna be seeing on the screen, let's jump into the Blacklight agent select as well. On Sunset, both of the teams, TSM lost at 11-13 to 2GAN, and M80 lost at 11-13 to Glory, so both of them losing to the Brazilian teams, Roy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just a reminder that the last time M80 played Sunset, they did lose on that map, so their Yoru was not working as intended, and maybe it was just some sort of dysfunction with the way they were approaching it. But to be fair, a lot of the rounds came down to some weird kind of like type coin flip situations, and they just did not win those scenarios. But strategically, again, they were playing well, but now TSM is going to be in a pretty good position to sort of combat and replicate the success that this team's had against M80 on Sunset specifically.
there's some big stylistic differences between TSM and M80, so there's a good chance to see how this is all gonna play out. Emily, any last thoughts on this?
I'm ready. Bring on the battle. Let's get the Neon versus the Yoru, and let's see how they battle it out. I think this is going to be so fun to watch.
Well, let's find out. Who's going to get the win? Is it going to be M80 continuing their dominance against TSM, or TSM has a statement to make on this map number 1? And we'll throw it to your casters, Stenrek and Keck.
Ooh, you feel that? The goosebumps, the chills rising? I have been waiting for this matchup for so long. The Koala Noob Yoru, the Sim Neon. Emily's completely right. We've seen this matchup before. And let me tell you, the individuality was important. But the early rounds too, that defensive side, where Koala would just brazenly take over the whole map and shut down Sim round after round. It's been a long growth arc for TSM since then, even if it hasn't felt that long. This is the moment for TSM to shine. They have a very long road ahead of themselves. If they want to have a chance to qualify for the playoffs of Ascension. And it starts with defeating the most undefeatable team we've seen so far this tournament.
The opening half of the window that TSM has to playoffs is going to close if they don't lock it in starting here on this attacking side of Sunset, which they lit up against 2-game earlier in this tournament. But again, like the desk said, it's been notoriously weaker than other teams. And with M80's ability to go into hero mode and have individual players sweep up positions and get so much value out of it, it means that these low buy rounds initially are so scary. Koala Noob takes all the space he wants and goes right back to B site, where M80 can sit pretty safe. 5v now 4. GMD hopeful flank watch, but Koala Noob is staying put. M80 so disciplined right now.
Already revealed where TSM are opting to put the majority of their forces back over on A. Crossfire set up, a great piece of utility early on. 7 takes revenge though. Nismo does end up removing that Gecko. Only a Paranoia available here to push onto site. A 3v3, BCJ blind through the smoke, has a flash of his own.
30
this
seconds
is good.
left.
But look at Koala Noob. Still yet another flash. Whatever you can do to blind these pistols against each other. The defense now taking the lead. It's up to 1 left. GMD. Good for 2. The 1v1 already. Individuality's the key of this matchup, huh? What a better way to prove it, but now BCJ taking a very close round 1.
Well met is TSM by M80's initiation, and BCJ doing it in 2 phases like a Gecko gotta do. Well taken, and in the beginning, it all starts with Koala Noob getting brazen, taking that space, doing what M80 can that TSM hasn't this tournament, and that's why they're 3-0. That's why TSM's 1-2. That's why this is desperation time for them, and why M80, this is debatably the least important match of the tournament. What is initially the biggest North American match of the year is turned into a backyard brawl in lieu of the Latin American and Brazilian teams that have swept up this tournament.
Yeah, I was really curious to see what M80 would end up doing in terms of their map picks, their agent selection, their technical pauses, whatever would come through first, right? And we've seen the whole gambit from M80, and we've talked about how much they love to alter and play around with the meta to their liking. And this is a common matchup that we've seen before, at least for the agent select, right? We saw that Yoru, we've seen the breach, of course, on Sunset, but the duality of having those two play that defensive side, there would be many, many rounds where Sim would begin to get something going, just for an outlaw in the face from Koala in the middle of mid. And guess what? That was because of a stun from Nismo all the way in the back of A site.
Oh, yeah.
This is a scary defense, dude.
Yeah, you talk about kills, Nismo is going to get involved. By far the most common assister of the tournament so far. M80, when it comes to team play, Nismo is the glue that binds it together. And so much of it is because of his breach, not just on Sunset, but a couple of the other maps that he's been able to play it on so proficiently. But here, on the defense, when Koala Noob is able to get proactive like this, especially against a Sim that doesn't have the wherewithal or guns for that matter to be able to stretch his wings like he so desperately wants to, oh yeah, Nismo feels good from a distance, from any distance.
What's interesting to me too is that Sim is leading all players in first bloods, yet it feels like, again, when it comes to the M80 matchup, he's one of the first to fall. Now, I'm saying this outside of Ascension, right? We're looking back at Challengers, we're looking back at the finals. He's definitely certainly stepped up since Ascension's begun, but again, this is not a matchup we've seen so far this tournament.
Certainly not. But it's about time that we do see it after all of the benchmarks that TSM and M80 have been fed. The riveting speed that gets dealt with. And again, the newness of these matchups cannot be denied when it comes to how much impact it has on performance of teams. Especially when, again, TSM playing against M80 lacks in individual performance comparatively. If you have all of these crazy duelists running around that are enabled as much as Koalanoob is able to be when M80 is at its peak, then TSM is going to meet the same fate, and they have this tournament. 1-2 so far in matches, but like the desk said, their mechanics are all right, their team play is all right, their comms are all right. It just comes down to player by player by player moments, and TSM has been lacking in those.
Let's do a little bit of housekeeping. M80 is flawless so far this tournament. They've won 3 series and they've lost 0. TSM, on the other hand, have only won 1 series and lost 2. In order for them to have a chance to qualify, they would have to beat M80 here. Then you would have to rely on the coin flip between Reta and Galoris after this matchup tomorrow. Then you would have 2Game versus M80, which again, it's hard to say. I think 2Game would have to lose there. And then the very final matchup of group stage is All Knights versus TSM. They would have to win that too. And we've been hearing everybody under the sun sing the praises of Dante. That's another incredible ask. But we're heading back into round number 2, and it's going in very fast. Spray downs everywhere. A Proto, very calculated, opening 2 picks. That's a sight in their control.
Sim, meanwhile, leading the charge to actually take the fight after the fact. Planted. TSM was one of the teams that had a day off yesterday, has had that extra time to study the games that they had lost before, shake off that pressure that teams have felt, that M80 no doubt felt when they faced off against their North American opponents last year. That was their second of the 3 losses at Ascension 23. M80 so far undefeated, and again, against this North American second seed, M80 fans feel pretty comfortable walking into this matchup.
Wow.
BCJ somehow wins that spray war. Sim will fall, but M80 will have to take a step back after that. TSM's attack, too formidable and too quick. They will come up with a second round.
So round 1 from TSM, but definitely a brutal one at that. Both teams buying up into this round, both of which only surviving with 2 weapons in their possession. That could very well hurt the economy over the next few rounds. Definitely unexpected from TSM to force buy just like that. Curious to see what they're going to be going into with rifles into this next round, but a very important round win from TSM. They've changed up the tempo considerably. They're brute forcing into sites, and the Proto especially taking those first 2 early picks. You removed any sentinel capabilities. You got rid of the smokes that M80 had in their possession. It left very little in terms of sight lines that the team could use to push back in, other than GMD smokes themselves, and that was not to be contested with.
Yeah, and that's
so it had to be a save.
That's one of the biggest things that TSM has been struggling with, Proto individually at least, is his proactivity when it comes to attacking, considering his position as a Sentinel. Granted, every Sentinel on every team faces that roadblock. It's kind of a symptom of the position, but a Proto's frontlining when it comes to these rounds has been very unique compared to some of these other teams that play for that util, play for that, again, phased attack that you see BCJ going for with his Gecko. But when it comes to a Proto's ability to sort of, I don't know, leech off of these attacks a little bit more and be that outstretched arm wherever Sim isn't in particular, because he's definitely going to be the farthest out from anybody, then he's found a little more connection, because rest assured, a Proto's aim is probably one of the best in the lobby, let alone the tournament, when it comes down to a vacuum. It's just a Proto can't be placed in a vacuum that often. He's under too much pressure. He's under too much fire.
Well, I suppose so, but let's take this a step further, right? If a Proto on the attacking side is going to be taking a lot more of these frontward charges, right? Will the response from M80 be that they recognize that and start to go for flanks more in the mid round and the late round? Or are they just going to maintain their current course? And if they do, a Proto's going to find so much more value because he won't have to worry about his utility surviving. But this is the time for M80 to start making those adaptations. The recognition to see, hey, this Cypher's playing pretty aggressive. Maybe we can get behind them if he dies pretty early. That's going to be a big alteration M80 can make and could definitely shut down this fast pace that TSM's bringing out.
And so the conversation, which is not being padded whatsoever, once again will shift back to Koala
No.
It once again shifts back to Koala Noob playing that Yoru. I mean, let's be honest. How much is TSM willing to bet that M80 already isn't considering the flank strats? Koala Noob is playing Yoru. I think they're trying to play some extra chess here, so it's like, okay, how much of a Protoss util are we going to let go to actually commit to watching for flanks like this? And how much do you think we're going to save for the for getting onto site? And how many times do you think we'll have a trap wire out at backside or out at Boba or out in Market? How many times do you think we'll have that to be able to dump into the fray? It's a level of conditioning that I don't think M80 is necessarily ready for against teams that are more fast-paced, more reliant on a Neon that TSM has historically been on Sunset.
I don't know if I can agree with that. Like, yes, in theory I do, but when I watch Koala on this map, I don't see a ton of flanking on this defense. It's more so setting yourself up almost as if you were playing Jet on Ascent, right? You could have an Outlaw, an Op in your hands, or any rifle, take that first fight, and just immediately TP out. And if he doesn't find that first fight, right? A big strength that M80 has had here is that they can get these early reads to find that first fight. If Koala doesn't recognize where it's coming from, he'll just TP and rotate to the other site.
Oh, yeah.
He plays aggressive mid, but not so aggressive enough where I think he's going to hit those flank trips.
That's
but
true.
That pistol round, he did get those kills. So.
Yeah, his TP spots have been quite conservative, though. You're absolutely right about that. He's playing for the one and done, and if he can find value, which, again, he normally does, he'll come in, he'll dip out, he'll go back, and he'll try to play for intel again with what util is left. You'll notice that Koala Noob is very frugal with his flashes up until, like, the very final seconds of every single round, and that is extremely intentional so that M80 refuse to give anything away on the part of the rest of their team, whether it's to sell a rotation or to sell a second swing. They never want to give anything more than just Koala Noob away in defenses like this, because he's the guy that can get out by far the easiest.
And to be fair, part of that too is just how Defense Sunset works, is that it's retake city, population M80 all over. I mean, we saw BCJ do the same thing with his Dizzy. He would just save it towards the end, wait to find the information off of it, and that's how really early Sunset played out, if you remember, right? It was like, okay, they're gonna take B site. Our unbreakable trip somehow got broken. We just have to get off in the Boba and go for a full retake. And it took teams a pretty long time to figure out a consistent way of breaking that. Aww. I heart you too.
Thanks, GMD.
I love his tattoos.
His sleeve is so sick. I was just about to say.
Right?
Yeah,
the flowers.
Super dope.
I want to get tattoos, but I have no idea what I would do.
I never know. I never know how, because it's so committal. It's like, I really, am I gonna want to have this on my arm for the rest of my life when I have the attention span of a goldfish?
Oh, I would do the
I'm gonna
dumbest
forget
stuff
about
I
this.
could.
Yeah,
like smiley faces.
I'm gonna have a meme that's already old this month tattooed on my pec. And
I'll put the entire mini map of Abyss on my shoulder.
No, but what if it gets reworked though? Then you're gonna have
even better. You know what? Just Sharpie every day. These are the changes.
You become a Valo plant. Valo plant window.
Look at the strats!
Guys, our board is down.
Do,
we can't strategize. Looking for me. Pulse up shirt has an Abyss mini map.
Maybe M80 will finally play this map if I tattoo it on me.
Right. That was the other thing we were talking about, is the fact that M80 neglected to have Abyss in today, and you theorized that they're saving that for playoffs. They're keeping their playbook nice and shallow against TSM today.
Yeah, I was expecting to see at least one kind of really wild change from M80. It's usual what we see from them against TSM. They throw out some weird strat, whether it be the agents they play or the maps they choose, but no, this is really safe from M80, despite them having a considerable lead. But BCJ, huge to shoot down a photo. This is the test, the theory. Will there be a flank?
Oh, great dog pile on top of BCJ's Dizzy. M80 is present and ready to play. It's TSM, or do we switch it over? Thrash doesn't get to decide for them. It's too detained, and no way 7 is gonna save that. It's a 3-piece for Koala Noob, and M80 with the lead.
Oh, you could hear the crowd. Very dedicated.
They're getting loud.
Thrash. Oh yeah. I mean, I think, who was it? Emily on the desk said that, you know, it's easier to get into like the minds of the enemy players when you're on LAN. Man, I love how dynamic players can be. But yes, early Thrash came out there. Round 3 does not mean it was wasted. We're gonna be seeing that Thrash pretty soon from the way BCJ's been holding these early to late rounds. Very good to see. But that was also not so much of a buy-up round. It was all pistols on M80's part, except for those who had saved into the last round. And we're just going straight back into it.
Yeah, Sim is as antsy as Koala Noob is to get to killing, and he will. One down with 26 HP to go, and now some stock up in elbow. M80 will start to back out. Just against the smoke so that Sim can get finished off, but it's a bait! Skimon steps in, and it's a trade back. M80 only good for 1 on the lowdown, but TSM have so much overarching control of that.
Spike planted.
It's gonna be tough again. Koala, still with 2 flashes. As you mentioned, very conservative, I should say, utility. But only an outlaw on a retake of short corners like this. So difficult, no utility for net.
Extra ballsy to hold on to this. A lot of util to stall with for TSM as well, and it starts with fault line, but net again early to the party, and Koala who takes a distance and gets some value out of a Guardian that's gotten picked up. 7 now letting fly a thrash of his own, but stalls out the timer until the perfect moment to grab both bodies on the remainder of M80. And TSM, it takes a little more investment, but they will cash out with a tie game.
That was amazing. That was incredible from 7.
That was sick. That was awesome.
Using the thrash timing to wait as a deterrent to push on the site. Having the call then, as that timer gave 0 time for M80 to defuse as they were trying to get on, allowed just enough time to puddle them together for the slay. Huge from TSM. And that really goes into that individuality that needed to be doubled down from them today. 7 single-handedly ulting the last 2 left alive and shutting down the potential of M80, breaking this tie.
Spike down.
Immediate brawl in B main, which TSM has been allergic to these opening 4 rounds. Good reason for it. You lose a lot of collateral, and some of it is out of your control. With no Sim, no 7, TSM have no way of clean attack unless they barrel roll now through B site. But with no certainty of intel, they have to play a little safe, at least on the front line. Luckily, no one M80 is present, so TSM have the site, and now have B main to play off of. A Proto gonna stay put, try and get some open positioning outside of market with the help of the cages as M80 begins their approach, and Nismo revealing himself on the back site and poised, now holding the operator. Is gonna let it go. On top of a Cypher ultimate, M80 once again stalled away. Nismo has a lot of util to throw at the wall here, especially at poised with that operator, and at least he'll get fielded out, but TSM still have so much more to shuffle through as the spike continues to tick down. A Proto still remains alive in this 2v1, and one more shuffle should probably do it. Indeed, TSM take the lead.
Great util usage from TSM at the end of that round. I was really worried. A Proto had used the cyber cages early. GMD had no recharge smokes after that initial one had been dropped. You did lose poised, you didn't get that operator, but guess what? A Proto was there for the swing regardless. A very likely possibility we could have seen a round 1 by M80 there. But great calls, making sure to go for a bit of a stagnated swing. That being said, though, you're completely right from before. They lost their entry ability, not having their neon at all. It's tough to get onto a site like B when you have very little smokes and saving them for the post plant. You don't have backside control, but M80 was playing this pretty safe. They were locking down A site, and it had them forced into a retake game. And you'll never believe what happens next.
What?
Well, we have a little bit more of a podcast session.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's true. No, now we can stretch this out. Find out after the break. But I think that Koala, again, is such a big reason why TSM doesn't want to attack up B site, because he gets so much freedom to just hang out wherever in that lobby room on early engagement to play for a gamble to see if he can catch a Neon or a Gecko. And again, just because TSM, was able to still win that round out, it's because M80 didn't have anybody extra waiting on B site. If they stack that a little heavier one time, or they condition a little extra util to be thrown in on the pre-plant, or hey, if they win a fight, which, M80 does sometimes, then that's not going to work nearly as well, especially when you don't have those openers available. So TSM probably going to continue to lean a little heavier towards A. Probably, again, not really touch mid, not really touch B lobby unless it's for a re-swing or, again, an early fight that they definitely think they can win.
Well, I think part of the idea, too, is holding the tripwires on B side far back to be anti-neon. We've seen a lot of neon so far this tournament really abuse the entryway of B main to get on the site. But just overall, usually, especially against American teams like TSM, it's easier to retake on B side. And locking down A, we've already seen from M80, has been a big struggle. TSM are playing their post plans unbelievably well. They had the protocol set up about exactly which utility and when they want to use it. Seven's Thrash on A site. We saw last round the early Cyber Cage usage and holding down B main despite having a lack of utility. Very important. But it looks like this time TSM want to prioritize mid. Nizmo ready for the stun to help Koala push out. A very important opening fight.
Is this a repeat episode of round 1? Rifles instead of pistols. M80 not completely kitted out. And Sim has taken space.
Called out on that angle before. Yep. He knew.
That was perfect response from Sim. Just getting a little bit active and shutting down Koala Noob's early position. One intended to jump with the gun diff. That's where all of M80 sits. 2 in the smoke up top mid. Nizmo reveals himself. He's bait, but TSM has the firepower to jam through, only losing 7 in the process. And now it's a mad dash through Boba to overwhelm Net and take over B site pretty easily from here.
Clean round. And again, just ending this round, not only with a Sheriff, the economy has not been going well for M80 this match. They have been bouncing between a broken buy, maybe sometimes rifles, but more often than not, it seems like their executions on this defense are relying on pistols. And yet here we are, TSM, a little slow in the beginning. They were hit with a very early thrash, and yet here they are. Very healthy economy. And M80 an early timeout, very unusual for the team, definitely needed. And as they said in the interviews too, it's been I believe their coach said, like, so far it's felt like a 5 out of 10 performance for the team. The only flawless team winning so far at group stage, by the way, that everyone on the team knows they could improve so much more. And this is one of those moments where they've been a team under a microscope going into this tournament. Every team has watched their VODs to study them. And it makes having this super safe map pick, the same agents as before, really difficult to do something new or to catch anybody off on.
It's so true. M80 are the big bosses of this tournament. At least they were going into it. And they have lived up to that reputation, despite the fact that, like you said, they're not playing up to their standards just yet. But you can imagine the pressure when they're aware of that. When they know what happened when they didn't bring it all to the table before. And again, while this match is not nearly as influential as the playoff matches that M80 is literally guaranteed to have already, it would be really nice to guarantee that you're the best team in North America at the Ascension tournament too. They couldn't do that against the Guard last year. Can they this time against TSM, a team that they've literally never lost against?
Only one map this year, TSM has won against M80. Big push up towards mid, crossfire, triple one set up.
Immediate run in from Sim. This is what you're looking for if you're TSM, but BCJ, the shutdown, a little bit of overinvestment, but it's worth it for a body. But TSM, they'll use that space created by Sim to grab control of market and see if they can field their way into B site. They can! Little guy limbos under the trap wires as TSM scurries into B site, but now comes the oncoming pressure from Nizmo and gang over in market. Leading the charge is Nizmo, now 2 kills for himself and only trading out for 1. Seven's got to get proactive. Seven is proactive and good for 2. Now has to let the thrash go early to cut short Koala Noob, who has made his way in with a dimensional drift. GMD from a distance can at least shut that back down, but Net still leaves himself standing on Spike. And Guimond not fully cleared. Waiting for the spike, Net have to fuse just as he gets up. It's perfect timing for GMD. For TSM, Zippo clutch on round 7.
Unbelievable thrashes from Seven again. I am loving this. The entire idea was for M80 to play against these readjustments from TSM. The crossfire, top of mid, held perfectly inside a marketplace. The re-clear, taking these fights. But Seven once again, a 3K into the thrash, shutting down any info potential Koala could have had on GMD. And focusing on Seven instead. So important to shut down any information. Keeping M80 on the back foot, anti-reclear. M80's goal now needs to be that TSM cannot get that spike down. That's why we see aggression out of them here. They have to play so aggressive.
A full stack spotted, and M80's aggression will lead to one, but just one to start out, and TSM's stack will still positively trade. And yet, M80 able to take a solid bite out of this team to begin, which means Nismo can at the very least reset and see if he can farm a little bit extra, give M80 a chance to maybe claw at this round, or even just force out something like a Rolling Thunder. That would be great.
Yeah. Keep in mind, too, Nismo has that Rolling Thunder. If this can turn into a 2v2, it's certainly winnable for M80. They can pick up those rifles in A main if they can re-clear it, but that's a long journey for Net. 2v2.
Great catch
Both ults
from
available.
Net. And you know where they're going. Nismo has this in the bag. Interception, but missed shots. And so the onus once again lies on Net, but it's a game of catch-up will have to play. Nismo gonna have to meet him at the pass as Poised and GMD run on over to A site via Link. Able to smoke out, fault out, GMD TP up for the high-low, and they can be fully set up for this. But as the plant goes down, Nismo lets the Rolling Thunder go. It's a trade-off of breach ults as Poised fires back to guarantee the plant, but it gives ample time for Net to come back, so it's a 2v2 that M80 will win! Nismo with 4 kills for the round, and that is the moment that M80 were looking for, the turnaround. They needed this half to stay in it.
I was so worried when that second Rolling Thunder had come out. No native information from M80 where in the smokes those two members of TSM would be. The Rolling Thunder would delay M80 even more. Let's take a look again to see that timing. I mean, this early fight could have been the round right there, but a quick disengagement from Nismo, the assistant master of Ascension so far, could have turned disastrous. Really good thinking, though, from Poised to bring out the Rolling Thunder just to delay. No idea where Net could have been. It could have been a disaster, but it wasn't. M80's back on the board. 2 rounds behind TSM now, taking a very confident lead. Very momentum heavy. And now Koala has a brand new tool that he's going to try to bring out against B.
He's in his bag for sure, starting this round. He's feeling it. He wants this op to grab some action in TSM. They have to know it, but they can't necessarily fight it. 7 is the first to step into the volcano. Who's up next? He sees the Cypher Cam set up momentarily, knows the TSM is gonna at least plant some feet here.
No utility to break that drip.
Yeah, big lean over here to B site, preemptively. TSM can't even necessarily step in. Now they definitely can't. There's their second opener gone. Trapwire hit by Poised as they enter in, and TSM has just got to go for it. A Thrash launched in for good measure, and no way in hell you're winning this round, TSM. M80 lock it down. Spike still not confirmed, and kills still available for TSM. A Proto with the help of a smoke is actually able to get GMD inside, and they'll continue fighting for the site before the spike to control the Thrash, make sure it can't be re-upped.
Xander?
The spike can be re-entered, but inside the smoke, Kimond attempts to enter. Too much presence, and now it's a 1v4. Calculated risks, but no reward this time. M80, they did the work this time, and they make it a 4-5 game.
Shutting down the Gecko right away from Koala Noob was gigantic. No wingman, no utility to shut down the tripwire, to enable, I should say, Sim to push in with the overdrive. Plus, having that Neon also fall and not take space backside was a big deficit for TSM not to push into this round. Now it's only 1 round off, and I believe this is TSM's timeout. They want to maintain this lead as much as possible. M80 have always used these timeouts so well to considerably change their game plan and start winning it back. But with TSM, knowing full well about this, are taking a tag of their own. They know they only need 1 and optimally 2 more rounds to have such a healthy half.
This is a TSM that's also looking so radioactive, not just in the lobbies, which they have looked better in than I think in playoffs that we saw. They really have leveled up. It's just the caliber of team that they're going up against is so insane. But also their comms. They've just been a louder team lately. They've been a more excited team. They're so happy to be here. And they want to let the world know. They want to let M80 know. They are not the only North Americans here. This is not just their tournament again. And with this lead still held on to on the attack, TSM, they want that statement piece to continue as long as possible. They'll set their sights on A here with a gun reset. Couple ults in the bank, though. Sim overdrive. And man, his hands have got to be so clammy just hovering over that key.
Early paranoia.
There it goes.
Neon ult. Oh, what a shutdown yet again. Expectations from M80 waiting for the fast push.
Huh?
Okay, sure.
Plenty of time, man. Plenty of time,
different game
GMD.
now.
Unfortunate, Koala Noob, another free one on the off this time around, and TSM will fizzle out on the attack this round. Not much available, but a wingman to grab his face and at least get the spike down. M80 will storm the battlefield and take over completely. It will not be a flawless, but it'll be pretty darn close. M80 tie things up to 5.
Yeah, these early round reads from M80 once again, having all of Net's utility shut down the Neon right away, highlighted, shot through the double smokes. Changing that pace can be so risky attacking on Sunset. There's so many angles that a Sentinel or maybe a very aggressive player acting as a Sentinel could just shut down right away. This is off the attack timeout too. TSM were hoping for this moment to switch it up and catch M80 off guard. Didn't work. They really had hoped that M80 would stack up on B.
That goes there.
But yet again, M80 are putting their presence on A, leaving Net all by himself on B site and handling market.
Not much of a job he'll have to do this round, as once again TSM look to A, at least initially. Xander gonna let that one-way smoke go.
There.
Stacked up with Koala Noob, looking for a way to flash, but this instead it'll be Nismo's flash. And now a war on two fronts. They will storm A, and Seven, isolated in the corner with spike in hand, will fall. An immediate detachment for TSM, and Xander presses the issue with the smoke in hand. Sim is the one saving grace, and it opens the gate for Poise to grab two. Amash to field away, but GMD takes initiative. Koala Noob will shut it back down, and it's a trade war for the ages this round. 2v2, it's center stage for TSM and M80. Net, the first to the punch up top mid steps as TSM reset their sights on the outside. Net, the sight found directly before going down. And it's a 1v1 to see who takes the lead back, but a Proto knows where Koala Noob is, prompting the ultimate from Koala as well. A Proto will have time to get spiked down, but Koala Noob will have space to reset. Where, oh where is this Yoru coming from? The most impossible question to answer. Decoy faulted, it's just Koala and a Proto! And now it's just a Proto! TSM 6-5.
Unbelievable there. I don't know if that was a missed decoy or if the idea was to fake the footsteps. It wasn't enough, and a Proto didn't fall for it regardless. What a swing. It was worrisome in that 1v1. You're planting down on B. You have little info about where this Yoru could be outside of the clone. No cyber cages available. No utility other than your own positioning being a util in of itself. That was such a scrappy round from both teams. It assuredly should have been M80, but at the very end, these clutch moments getting onto site, it's been M80's weak spot in defense. And now this time TSM, they're choosing to push into B. M80 are focusing mid. Their expectations are a big change-up yet again. Koala's giving that info that A side is clear, but the Thrash will certainly give that away. Where will that Thrash go? The blockage backside does give confirmation that everyone's backed off.
But how far? Net's already tried to take the space back, and just as the wingman comes in, it's a line drive set up by Net. But a frag back, and not enough of M80 is necessarily present. Huge aftershock to farm Sim away, but he's able to turn back around, get the shot down, and now TSM can take over. Nismo stands alone on site for the time being. Not for long, Koala is back in the fray, but TSM stand with the advantage. So Proto will step back and let the rest of TSM merge to A. Can they catch anybody? On the run back, Nismo almost lets himself go. A Proto lets a shot fly to sell more space. And although it's a kill, although it's a 2v2, it's a free plant for TSM. And again, where the hell are these TSM members poised?
1v1.
Lets them know, and Nismo is down to a crisp of health.
Look at this push-up, though, from
He's
Sim.
so far out now.
Completely unknown. Full audio about where the last two of M80 are. This is a crunch of a lifetime.
Nismo on 2 HPs. He fragged for Sim from Link, and Koala Noob has to play from 0 intel. Except for this place from Sim, but it doesn't matter. A Neon can be just about anywhere. Perfect double back from TSM, and they'll take the lead heading into halftime.
TSM had a day off yesterday, huh? They spent all day studying for this matchup. Wow. Absolutely speechless in the mid-round again, disengaging from B at the perfect time, using their teammate as bait to rotate to A site to buy just a little bit more time, and having the protocol to watch for the cross mid to see who would go by and when. All taking that individuality that the desk had said was the most important thing TSM had in their arsenal and double down on it. It's working fantastically. this might be the first half we've ever seen from TSM where they take the lead over M80.
And yet, things are still not over. The job is not finished because M80 are about to switch to their attack half, which is classically far better on Sunset. Because it's one that's not necessarily as conventional. Koala Noob's Yoru takes a backseat far too often for teams that are well-conditioned with tool lists. And, of course, TSM will be one of the most conditioned, considering they face against M80 quite frequently. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're able to hold themselves up against it. This was the one switch in the map pool from the past two matchups of TSM and M80. TSM said, no, we don't want you to go to Lotus this time. You have beat us there too easily, too much. We will have our hardban of your best map. You can have your hardban of our literal home of Bind. And we'll go from there. And we went to Sunset. And TSM, they do feel pretty good naturally here on Sunset. But M80's attack, it's a terrifying one, Keg. It is a scary one.
No doubt about it, very scary. And that's why there were so many question marks going into this matchup. Could we see a brand new map from M80 that hasn't been seen before? Could they bring back that Bind? Could they bring out the Abyss? But no. Instead, even though this has historically been all maps that M80 have thrashed TSM on, it feels like this is a veto designed for TSM to win. This is taking your final exam. How much studying have you done over the last year? And yeah, M80, their attacking side's pretty dang good on this attack. But if TSM can go 7-5 on their own attack now on the defense, I think they have a lot in their pockets that we've yet to see. Already, look at Sim's position. Aiming down, waiting for this opening duel inside of mid. Nismo has his utility set up on the cross of A to take that fight. TSM's not engaging. They're waiting for M80 to make that first move themselves. This is scary. Already the cross has been made to rotate back over mid. No information's been given outside of the group swings. This is an empty site outside of Elbow. That trip gets destroyed. It's going to be TSM for what could very well be either a gigantic crunch or a flank. No, they choose not to flank. This will be a head-on-head battle after this tripwire falls.
Process of elimination. All roads lead back to A site, which will be breached with the destruction of the trap wire. Beautiful paranoia from GMD to slow it down, and TSM will get on site beforehand. Koala Noob a little early to the party though, and is able to get a decent amount of chip damage. Open up the site to get the spike down and TP back as the danger persists. And so TSM still have their work cut out for them. A Proto able to catch Koala Noob on the run back, and now TSM have a lot more confidence stepping in. Xander smoked though, and shots on top of that cut TSM down to just one, and a Proto on nothing has no chance against the remainder. M80 swipe back the pistol round.
Handedly what should have been a TSM round, grouped together, playing around smoke so efficiently, and then there's Xander. Oh man, I'm just waiting to see the replay again. This was such great aim work. That second kill in the smoke.
That was like a spray transfer with the pistol. That second kill was just a spray into the smoke,
how do you
dude.
spray with a
that
ghost?
Was so goofy. That's what M80 does. They spray through smokes and they win rounds.
You need to have the trigger finger of a hummingbird to do that. What do you do now if you're M80? You've won the first round handedly over eliminating TSM on site. Mid side now, the move. You have the weapon advantage. Up into mid. Oh, the smoke goes down. Now, what could this be a tell for? You block off the Boba side for B. That should tell TSM that this is an A attack. But M80 is waiting around. They're looking for limbs. They're taking this slowly. That smoke is being perma'd. They're taking this fight directly to TSM.
They know this is going to be perma-watch. The question is, does TSM step into this? And they don't have to, and a Proto has the backline. Oh, but M80 wins the fight when TSM does decide to press the button after that kill comes through. It's the only battle won this round by TSM, and M80 tie things up at 7.
Don't stop fighting.
I was really expecting Sim to be a little bit more aggressive in that fight there past the smoke, but even then, what do you really do when you have such a weapon advantage? 7-7. M80 in that first half had a distinct score loss. And yeah, here they are now with an even game once more. Rifles for TSM. One of the most important rifle rounds of this tournament for them. They were so good in the first day of Ascension, but since then, slowly but surely, they haven't been able to get the wins they need. This is a battle for playoffs now for them. M80 have it all secured. TSM, on the other hand, don't. They're towards the bottom. They could be eliminated if they don't beat the unbeatable opponent. Double swing!
Good amount of damage done to GMD, but that's all Koala has to settle for this time around. Solid starting position for TSM. And like you said, such an important game. If TSM doesn't win this, their chances at making playoffs are so fleeting. They will literally be in the bottom 2 of the tournament that cuts off the bottom 2 tomorrow.
There.
TSM circling the boat from Boba first as M80 step back into the doldrums of A site, see if there's a lesser threat waiting for them, and technically there is. It's the remnants of GMD waiting to fan over the rest of TSM. The
2 sets of flashes.
This is triggered.
Cage triggered.
1 on each side. We'll take Elbow first, followed by Link. Nismo caught early. GMD was watching. And M80 will have to work on 1 channel. It'll be all they need, though, as no one else is holding as heavily on TSM, and M80 know that they will storm it, they will win it, get the plant down, grab some extra time. Xander taking a front seat to this fight. Here's all the steps, all the shots that are almost hitting him. BCJ waiting with the turn back, and TSM is ready on the trigger of the paranoia. It's just net remaining, and TSM stay disciplined in the rifle round. It'll be a blacklight flawless for them to make it an 8-7 game.
Yeah, losing Koala right off the rip was devastating. You didn't have any ways of getting the TP onto site or bringing out the decoy too to change things up. Not a possibility. TSM are taking these defense rounds so slowly. They're not looking to find these aggressive opening picks as nearly as much as I thought they would. But they had to be cautious. A very important opening pick. Elbow was important for them to take that fight, sure, but everything else was all a group effort. Now, what is the move here from M80? They have a lot of things in their arsenal they could bring out. And we've already seen the theatrics inside of mid.
Yeah, what is the next step here for M80? How
There's
exactly?
a lot they could do.
Yeah, you have a lot of options. That's what your comp is built for. Is doing a lot of different things. But Sim trying to be a stopping force early on with this dash, seeing if he can grab something early. He can't. Koala Noob is taking a heavy amount of space with Nismo's help up here in courtyard, and TSM can't really do much about it. And with a smoke placed up top mid, now Sim is a little more aware of how much presence there is, but Koala isolated, and Sim, the perfect player to grab that opening kill. The op can be salvaged, but nothing more, and M80 once again starting the round with 4 members.
Man, Koala, a player that came into this tournament with an obscenely high first kill percentage, now with a first death in the last 2 rounds. It's the same exact spot M80 was in before, except this time less map space. They have to find a way to get past this corner choke on A. They don't have any native info outside of BCJ's util to figure out what's going on in these corners. No hard information. This is buying time for TSM to crawl their way back to re-clear Elbow and A side itself. Oh, with the proto gone, there's no more tripwires. It's leaving it down to Poised.
30 seconds. So implanted. No reason not to push this, but Poised will meet an early Xander first. Stepping into site alone, trying to check backside. Not making the same mistake again. M80 set up the fast lane, set up the wingman, and now Nismo posted up with Link with that operator. Still salvage, still value. Tossed out from Poise just to get back out from back hall as GMD makes his way up but can't find any press. Neither can Poised. It's down to just 7 in a 1v3. Make it a 1v2, but Nismo still with this operator, and already all the util used. It's got to be a 2v1 swarm, and that's what M80 uses to tie us back up.
Like where the spike plant was played out, put down just for the elbow angle, watching for the backside, prioritizing any of the players that tried to go for a very cheeky swing for the back of brown box. Not going to be a possibility. A lot of games of safety here for both these teams. M80, again, has been the team to drastically alter their meta a lot when it comes to go up against TSM specifically. And yet, nothing's really changed here. M80's playing very safe, all things considered. And TSM are the ones to play more aggressive than I feel is usual. It's worked out for them, but they have to go for another tack pause 8 in 8 again.
This feels like a good place to do it.
Yeah.
Purely of how influential the rifle rounds are on a map like Sunset, you can take it and roll with it for a good 3 or 4 a lot of the time compared to some other maps. So for them to kind of dislodge control now, pretty necessary to hold on to the game here. And again, it being TSM's pick, they would prefer to be proactive about it.
Yeah. Big questions I have is, when the ult economy rises more to the occasion that it comes out, how will TSM utilize it? Seven's been great on the Thrash. I'd love to see the Neon ult from Sim come out. That'll be huge if it's a Nico. But also from M80's camp, what about Koala? Koala has one of the best entry tools in the game, and that's going to be the Yoru ult. That'll come out soon. But with his op, he's found some impact, but he's been the first death the last 2 rounds. He has to take that charge. He's the duelist. And yet here he is, still taking that risk again, clearing everything out. Dismo's there to help out with the utility off of the stun, but a Proto's got the camp set up and ready. A Perma smoke's out, it's going to deny that op angle. Everyone else on TSM are playing this so safe and together for mid.
Look like they want to plant one here, and they will. Xander gonna hang out in B lobby for a moment, see if he can catch anybody straggling. Top mid smoke, they will try to sell a rotation of some kind. TSM will read that smoke as a rotation to A site. And they're correct. M80 have to do a lot of clearing first. BCJ having to use that first charge of the Dizzy, so a little bit stunted. TSM will actually get up close here. Sim, with the help of 7, will strike and dip back out. 2 for 1 special. That'll get him advantage. And also Spike isolated yet again. M80 up a creek without a paddle here, but able to take a couple isolated fights. 25 seconds to go, though. They've got to just save it. See if they can at least find GMD. They could go hunting here. Oh, no. They'll be able to TP ult. Grab this and just go for the plant on B side instead. GMD, big interception here. Catches Nismo's arms, but Nismo has the better wiggle. And M80 live to fight another post plant, but not very long. GMD steps into market, takes over market. Now a 4v2. M80 have to shuffle through. Xander has the smoke, has the paranoia, tosses one in the market, the ladder into Boba. It doesn't matter, so much available. M80, Xander, how do you do this every time? 1 smoke is all you need, and yet a Proto. Once again, coming up behind the pack is the one with the off angle, the one that Xander looks away from to give TSM the 9th.
Bro, Xander, man.
Every time, man, every time.
Never seen a complaint about this guy. I mean, he is just in a different reality. And but Xander aside, for TSM, their utility usage has been so on point the entirety of this map. The whole crux of why the A push didn't work was because of Poi's fault line. Perfect timing with the swing out from, I believe it was 7 to secure the kills. Fault line was out, right on the choke. No chance to divvy away into elbow. Removing the spike away, forcing out Xander's ult, which, by the way, he almost has back again into the next round. Big entry this time. Hidden foe clearing coming out from Koala's ult. He's telling everybody that B site's secured. But there's a problem. Look at the potential ults we could see from TSM. 7's Thrash, close to Poi's Rolling Thunder, Sim on the Overdrive. 3 critical ults that just need to come out, 2 of which from kills. Well, I apologize, Poi's a whole lot more than I thought. But even then, a lot of critical ults.
Well, Poise doesn't need a Rolling Thunder, has the ability to just get on high ground and take over Koala Noob. Once again, unable to go band for band in the 1v1. Now TSM take over backside. That's the moment where 7 can let the Thrash go and at least take its way through lobby. Huge blind to actually make it a little harder for M80 to play for this post plant. Xander gonna have to step in for a moment and just play for time, which this util continues to do. A lot of TSM available though, and they'll take the fight to them. Sim with the Russian, that leaves space open on lobby for 7 to be able to defuse, trying to get blocked, but M80 have the firepower to continue to fight until too much time has been wasted. TSM, its remainder in GMD has to escape, and M80 escape with the half.
Absolute chaos at the end. I need to see the replay. That's the entirety of the round right there. The rush in, taking things in stride, not allowing a smoke in B main or even close to B main to be the barrier for either team. Just straight up using flashes available and pushing in. That was such a great change of pace again from TSM. It's come so close. Now Poise is coming closer to getting that ult. although it's not available just yet. Takes is to play around these orbs. A great change of pace now on an eco round from TSM. It's the overdrive available, and M80 immediately respect it. Hiding away from this neon, letting the juice drain.
Walanoob again leading the pack here into B site. On watching for M80's Lepers, which there no doubt are with such a big push out the gate here. But M80, understanding the proactivity that TSM need to enact on one end, go to the other. Here's the flank opportunity. Sim still standing with now a rifle in hand and some extra help. Walanoob holding up the back though, net the front. And so far, T's crossed, I's dotted, GMD assaulted by flashes, and now Walanoob with his second kill of the round. 2v1, post-plant poised, just a ghost in hand. M80, 2 TPs is all they have, but they don't need much more when they have the spike in such a safe spot. 10-9 M80.
You really couldn't have asked for a better eco round from TSM. Although Sim didn't find really much with his ult, the potential afterwards, finding so many kills, was ginormous. And 9 times out of 10, BCJ gets the spray transfer. So truly unlucky. But big still to only have 2 bodies left alive on M80's front. Sure, they broke the tie. It's a matter now of seeing what the economy for TSM can look like from here on out. It's not the best in the world. We see some light shields, some guardians in play. And the aggression has taken a bit of a step back outside of Marketplace. Door's gone down immediately. Door should break open and have the help of the clone. This will be a great fake to allow M80 to buy time to crunch their way up through Boba and main site.
A lot of ways that you could attack this, and in fact, they'll double back to market real quick after setting up the smoke. TSM may have a cavalcade set up at the stairs, and in fact, now they do. Just as M80 is gonna eke away into tiles and lean back over to A site, this could potentially be huge if Sim and 7 don't get the memo, but they have plenty of time after this smoke fades away. M80, again, it takes a little bit too much time. TSM is going to be aware of this presence. It's just a question of how much of it are they going to fight out the gate. M80 will have to spend quite a few resources. Oh no, they'll head back over to mid. Net has been watching B side as well this whole time, seeing if anybody steps out. No one has so far. No one's given themselves away to that rotation. But M80, despite this, with that plant and with uncertainty on A site, they'll double back again, seeing if they can bait TSM out. They can't. TSM again has time to intercept this, and M80 will walk into a full-on 5v5. They'll use ultimates to help them out, though, and Thrash being one of them. TSM able to get a couple positions. GMD intends is able to grab 2 for himself. Long live the king. RIP. Day 1 is already so rough without him. 7 getting the little guy on for at least half. Util is able to get spent to kill him, but so much more of TSM to kill, and is smoking your way. TSM, they will outlast and tie us back up at 10.
Really interested to see what scared M80 off from pursuing top
They
Boba.
were terrified that round.
They were. The clone strat was out. GMD was pretty aware of it. Not that he knew, but his crosshairs were right on the clone on the other side of that door the entirety of that time. But it was just a big unusual stall from M80. The call was to back off and maybe pursue A side, but with the timer running out and no map clearing or info whatsoever, they were forced to double back into B site and push for the best. I don't know if we'll see that mid strat again. Hopefully we do, though. Looks like we'll see the beginning of it at the very least. Response from TSM, aggression, fight for A-Orb. Yeah. But with no M80 around. Oh, Net. He's hiding. I think he gave the call that TSM are pushing up. This is going to be that mid-strat we wanted to see.
This is how much they wanted to press it. Net, how much can he do here? It doesn't really matter. That's not what M80's strategy is, and the answer is nothing. TSM can take over. Nismo and Tile's going to elect not to hit this. M80 actually meets TSM halfway at Link, and an opening frag leads to now a 4v4. TSM rerouting to get to Elbow and have some solace, and that means M80 gets a free plant, but now they'll choose to extend, and Xander and BCJ each get theirs. Gimon stepping into so much of M80, and it's just not to be. A Proto will save, and M80 will swipe back the lead convincingly.
These rounds have gone so back and forth. This is one of the most decisive ones we've seen in a while. M80's split-second decision-making, opting not to pursue Boba again, but instead take that mid-route back to A site and fight on early for A-Main to catch all those defenders off guard. Was definitely a bold choice, but it works out well. And this is that difference that Desk was talking about. The strategic depth that M80 have been a strong suit for the team over TSM, who's used their individuality to convert so many interesting rounds off of gunfights alone. With that being said though, M80, they had a string of rounds put together. TSM, whether it be attack or defense, their post plans have worked pretty well. They've won primarily from defuses so far this half. And I think M80's idea now is to prolong that period as long as possible. Or should I say delay. They don't want to go for the plants right away. They want to play around with the map more and catch these rotators and these mid holders off guard.
Exactly. They want that post plant to become a triviality.
Yeah, but let's see if it happens this round. Look at the stack up outside B. Nothing but pistols for 7. And broken buys with rifles and guardians from others.
Very rough buy indeed, and it's going to lead to TSM taking the initiative into the lobby on the swing. Sim lands his shots, 2 opening onto M80, and they'll storm the battlefield. 2 open, TSM sweeping the floor. BCJ the only one remaining, and will take care of the rest of the crowd, but now it's a 1v2, and a Proto and Poise do not just have pistols. Again and again, this game continues to swing. And it will once more by the skin of its teeth. TSM 11-11 max Make-A-Wish.
Oh, I wish for a map 3 if this is how both teams want to play. Holy. I love this proactivity coming out from TSM. The fact that they started off in the beginning taking things so slow, but now they have the same reads that M80 themselves opted to bring out their defense. Switching things up now, playing so much more aggressive, forcing yet another tactical timeout from M80. This is a scared M80, not something you see very often. The flawless team of Ascension. They've yet to lose a series. And remember, TSM have only won 1 map over M80 the entirety of this year. And we could very well in 2 rounds see a second.
So close with this pick. That again is a deviation from what TSM has normally picked up against M80. But not this tournament. TSM has started to feel a lot better on Sunset here at Ascension. And it's clear why. Sim doesn't just think he can match up against the big dogs of LATAM and Brazil. He is a big dog. He is a Sunset Neon. And not just him, it's every member of TSM who is scaring away the crows of M80. BCJ has not been able to do anything these past few rounds other than just let Wingman go. The util dump war has been unabashedly in TSM's favor.
Yeah. Sim taking some notes out of Dante's playbook for these opening picks too, you can definitely tell. And TSM, they like to stack up, similar to a lot of other teams we've seen so far in Ascension, but the core difference was always the speed. Sim would take things slower than, say, Dante, right? And sure, it hasn't changed much, but he has that confidence now. The whole team does to take these fights still just as aggressive. 7. Blinded out. Has to run away.
Spotted, pinged by Koala on the drift, and he's just gonna take this fight. 7 will win it! Still flashed, still stuck in market, still M80 taking the site and a spike plant. Now Nismo attempting to engage. 7 has a Thrash, but a Thrash in tandem. Poise will protect the president though in TSM. All fights are won. 7 now up and running again. Will let his little guy go as the rest of TSM will storm Xander, easily taken over. No Blacklight flawless, but 4 stay standing for TSM's game point.
Once again, M80 trying to change up the pace to play aggressive on their own. Koala using ult to clear sight, did find 7, and even Nismo was there for the stun to ensure that the marketplace push could not be redone. And yet Koala, another first death, lost out on that fight. This is very unusual for him. This is always one of his more confident maps.
It's true. This is very unlike Koala. He normally wins a lot more of these matchups, and it is doing a lot to M80's chances of winning these rounds. Compared to having something like that Neon that can just push up with your team so much more often, Koala Noob. An ultimate gets yet nothing this time around, and now M80 on a fractured bye have to use so much in the early round, so much more than they're used to, just to clutch onto this map. A chance of it, at least.
The double ribs.
Lots set up here in the courtyard. Kowalinu will spot at least half of it.
Here.
M80 again taking over mid, but how far do they press it? No smoke thrown in just yet, and conditioning will lead TSM to refuse to intercept this fight to any degree just yet. So much slower on the double back from sites with a complete lack of intel.
Sim, ISO'd. 7, util still available. Waiting for the back line's net, listening for audio in the rotates. Could catch them off guard on this flank, but he's playing aggressive. Already fights have begun. 7, good for 1, but net, he's the core to bring this home. Could we go to overtime? I'm not sure anymore. 3v3, Koala had to forego the operator back into the Vandal. He picked it back up again. Xander only has a Bulldog. BCJ only has a Guardian.
It's slim pickings here for M80 as Kowalinu on the mosh, blinded away, has to ask for support, and Xander comes calling yet again! He answers! And M80 can clear the board! Both for the round and for the game. We exit regulation once again here in Ascension. We're going to overtime.
We talk about how M80 has been undefeated so far in Ascension, but a lot of the maps have come unbelievably close. This has been one of the most competitive Valorant tournaments I've ever seen in my life. And it just keeps on going. I mean, overtime now against TSM, a team transformed against M80. Years now worth of practice against them. Not much results. But this moment, we're inching closer and closer to possibly seeing at least a first map won for TSM's favor. The confidence is soaring. And although that post plant wasn't the best from M80, they didn't have the best weaponry you would hope for. They were still good at clutching together and getting those multi-kills into overtime. It's a matter now of seeing who's going to change the pace up even more. And to be honest with you, dude, I mean, for how safe this matchup has been, the agent picks and the map vetoes, it's still big question marks about what the strategy will be going into round after round. And I'm going to be honest with you, my eyes are now completely focused on TSM.
Yeah, all eyes on the underdog. As they were all day today, the regional matchups where the 1 seeds who were underperforming so far came up heavy against their regional counterparts. And now, save for TSM, Ascension is once again locked competitively. So many teams clawing for those top 4 spots, in TSM with a win here against M80, with a map even. They're just 1 claw closer.
Oh, but look at this. Already early util usage mid, expecting Koala to push aggressively there. They're hunting for Koala, but he's outside B main.
Yeah, he's still trying to look for a pickup here. He'll lead the smoke out from GMD. Confirmed with the flash. M80 again. Step back a little bit, play for this retake a little bit heavier. TSM still not fully committed, still having GMD over here. Big smoke to try to sell the mid rotation again.
Not even, it's the crunch for B that they want M80 to think is going to happen.
Yeah. They're not moving though. M80 is staying stalwart. They're waiting for this A read. They think that TSM is bluffing. They're going to call it.
They would know.
And as these smokes dissipate, M80 says, well, where are you? Where could you possibly be? Nowhere else but A is the fight. TSM make the call, and M80 hear it in spades. Sim will clear the space with a slide. And so M80 have to back out and play for the retake in full.
This retake is scary. This has been TSM's biggest advantage so far this map, playing in these close quarters. Xander, though, multi-kills across the board, has been a difference maker. Utility looking great, both teams. How do they approach? So many flashes for Koala and M80.
And it starts with a flurry of them on either side. Sim the closest to the fight, but a Proto the first in it to get a kill. Slide back from Sim means you have to check more as you go in, and M80, they have so much that they're just walking into, including Sim, who from the corner of the site is a walking turret for TSM, who will clean house, keep 4 standing for their attacking win, giving them game point again.
And even with the macro being completely read by M80, recognizing the fake smokes from mid-site not being a crunch, I'd be curious to see if that marketplace door was closed or open, because the camera outside, had it been open, would have revealed that there was never a presence in mid from TSM, except for the start of the round, and never pushed up beyond the door of marketplace. What a great read from M80, but they lost out on the gunfights. TSM, they've been winning on individuality. Now the sides have been swapped. M80's strat book has been a lot more in-depth.
Not use it in mid initially. TSM, they've taken the fight to them. Xander falling early. TSM will scurry into mid and take over again, winning all their fights. Net, at least winning one against Poise, trying to stay put for the Do, but now with 2v2, or 2v3, excuse me, and 7 with the angle to flank in.
Defenders
sweep through, take a 4-piece to end the round, and give TSM the opening map of the match. What a starter pack for this underdog squad.
The last 3 days have been poor from TSM, but this matchup is what they've been prepping for. The performance, albeit close, yes, in the OT, helping take another map off of these undefeated Titans. TSM now a very good chance to give M80 their first loss of Ascension.
One of the few kryptonites of M80 at Ascension has been the alternative American team. They were the only ones to defeat them outside of the Union in the previous year. Guard did it twice. First time in the beginning of those playoffs and at those grand finals. TSM were never lauded as a team who was going to make it that far going into this tournament. And they haven't been these past few days with teams able to continuously best them. And yet, Keg, here we stand. Anybody can win. Anybody can ascend.
This tournament's been so competitive. I had my worries about some teams going into this, but now it's anybody's game. The hunt to find individual players against M80 and prevent them from playing the game, TSM's MO. But guess what? We have a whole lot more to come. And if this is how map number 1's gonna go, imagine what number 2 and maybe even map number 3 will be like. But we gotta get there first, so don't go anywhere. We'll definitely be right back.